I accompanied Fu Zimo from being an unknown stunt double to becoming the most honored Best Actor. Today, he publicly confessed his love to his leading lady at the awards ceremony. The leading lady wasn't me. I was the last to know. The screams from the audience were deafening, mingling with the spotlight, giving me an illusion of tinnitus. The staff around me all looked at me, but didn't dare to speak. Fu Zimo, dressed in a custom-made suit, stood tall. Standing under the lights, he held the trophy he had longed for since his youth. Choking back tears, he thanked his fans. "I've been on this path for 10 years, and you've accompanied me for 10 years. You're like my family, so I want to introduce the most important person to me." The camera zoomed in on Fu Zimo's face, and he looked towards the guest seats. The tenderness in his voice was almost suffocating. The face on the big screen panned across the guest seats and finally settled on Yongwan in the corner. I remembered her a bit. She was the leading actress in his first award-winning movie. At this moment, under the camera, Yongwan shyly looked at the lens and made a heart gesture. The audience immediately erupted in screams. The host was stunned by this unscripted moment, but with professional poise, he quickly continued. "I've long heard that Emperor Fu has been pure-hearted and ascetic for 10 years in the industry. I didn't expect that once he fell in love, it would be so deep." Then he joked, "Congratulations to Emperor Fu on his happy ending. When can we expect to hear your good news?" Fu Zimo smiled helplessly yet sweetly. "I want to give her the best and grandest wedding, but she doesn't want too much attention. If she agrees, I will certainly give her the best." The host immediately made a playful sound, pretending to complain. All right, standing next to Emperor Fu is making my teeth ache from the sweetness." The next second, he maliciously asked, "We all know Emperor Fu is the pillar of Xingdong entertainment. I wonder if your management company is already in a panic." The host seemed to be directed by the producer to ask a question that appeared playful, but was actually provocative. If Fu Zimo said the company didn't know, it would mean he acted on his own and didn't cherish his fans. But if the company knew and agreed, they would likely be swamped by fans. The staff around me were silently praying, "Brother Fu, please don't drag us down with you." But I was eagerly awaiting Fu Zimo's answer. Watching him bask in the limelight, I wanted to know what role I played in his heart all these years. My manager doesn't know yet, but I think she will definitely give me her blessings. After all, I am a pretty obedient cash cow. Fu Zimo answered nonchalantly. Seeing that the buzz was sufficient, the host laughed it off. "Hopefully, we'll hear your good news soon. Let's congratulate Fu Zimo once again." Amidst the screams, Fu Zimo stepped down from the stage, and the hot search exploded. "Ms. Lee, do we still need to manage the trending topics?" My assistant's voice pulled me back from the sensational confession, but I felt like I had fallen into an ice cellar, momentarily speechless. The screams erupted once more. I couldn't help but look toward the guest seats, where Fu Zimo had walked past the crowd to Yongwan, handing his trophy to her blushing face. Perhaps it was the surrounding people congratulating them. Fu Zimo had been smiling and thanking everyone since he sat down. I mechanically turned my head to look at the tablet in my assistant's hand. Hashtag Fu Zimo double win in career and love, hashtag shot to the top of the trending list. Should fans toughen up nowadays? Always spending money to support their idol's girlfriend. Just won an award and started causing drama? Can't these fans chill out? Am I the only one who kind of ships them? To be fair, he's not just a pretty face. He's in his 30s. It's normal. Gentle film emperor and the sweetheart actress. I love this. Does anyone else get it? I don't, but I love it. Film emperor? Please, it's just one Best Actor award, not enough to call him that. Is this the part where he's reached the pinnacle of success? At least win a real film emperor title before showing off. Film emperor and the sweetheart actress. What a cliché plot. Watch. Those fanfic writers will jump on this soon. The internet was already in an uproar. After a while, I heard my voice as calm as ever. If it wasn't for the slight tremor. Of course, manage it. Release the materials about his injuries while filming the martial arts drama. He isn't ready to retire yet. Besides, his girlfriend fans make up 60 to 70% of his base. For now, we can only stabilize them. As I said these words, I thought I was the most professional manager. But only I knew I could hardly breathe. Anything else, Ms. Lee? The assistant asked anxiously. For the publicity team. Just as I was about to touch base with the publicity team, my boss's call came in. I signaled my assistant to notify the team about the tasks, then stepped outside to answer the boss's call. When did this happen? Song Yuan's voice was calm, betraying no emotion. No one knew Fu Zimo would pull such a stunt, including me, his manager. As the company's business grew, my focus had gradually shifted to nurturing new talent and handling commercial deals. I had rushed back from a canceled meeting for today's award ceremony. We hadn't seen each other for half a year, and our last meeting ended on a sour note. Fu Zimo had left all aspects of his life and worked to his assistant, so no one knew when he started dating. He had 2 shows airing this year, both performing well. Winning Best Actor was already a given. Securing this prestigious industry award meant his future opportunities would only get better. Moreover, he was only 28, just beginning his career in the entertainment industry. But now, publicly revealing his relationship with a third-tier actress would certainly attract attention from other companies. Taking a deep breath, I said, "It was my oversight. I've already arranged to manage the online comments. I'll touch base with Lu Ling's team and the prearranged media. For now, we won't push the CP, couple, promotion. We just need to prevent any negative hits from them." Lu Ling was the leading actress in his current show, and promoting a CP was a necessary step. It was in the contract, and Fu Zimo's high-profile move left a mess to clean up. I hurriedly said a lot, but Song Yuan paused. "That's not what I meant." I heard Song Yuan sigh. "Are you okay?" My nose tingled. The assistant didn't dare to ask, and my colleagues were too scared to speak. I had been with Fu Zimo for 7 years, supporting him from a bit player to the best actor. From a basement apartment to a downtown penthouse, everyone thought we were already together. Fu Zimo requested a new manager. Early the next morning, just as I arrived at the office, Song Yuan informed me of this news. No wonder my colleagues had been looking at me strangely today. But I wasn't too surprised. Rubbing my temples, I looked up at Song Yuan, who was leaning against the doorway. "All right, I understand. When will the handover be?" Song Yuan didn't reply immediately. Instead, he walked over and sat in front of me. "What did you do yesterday? You look terrible." Just thinking about it gave me a headache. Lu Ling's manager was notoriously difficult. And now, Fu Zimo had chosen this critical moment to publicly display his love, giving her the perfect opportunity to latch on. I got up and poured myself a cup of coffee. Met with a few media outlets. "Those dark circles don't look like you just met a few." I gave a helpless smile. "What? Is the boss going to give me a raise?" I took a sip of the hot coffee, feeling slightly revived, and casually complained. And Lu Ling, she never shows such good acting skills in her roles, but now she's frequently crying in fan groups about how stressed she is. Song Yuan knocked on the table. "You don't need to worry about Fu Zimo anymore. Hand over the remaining work and then take some time off." "No way, boss. You're not going to fire me over this, are you?" I joked. Song Yuan laughed. "I'm afraid you're not in the right state to work. Don't worry, I'm not going to turn down money." I refused Song Yuan's proposal. To be honest, I had anticipated this situation for a long time. I just didn't expect it to happen so quickly. But the work had to continue. I told Song Yuan that I no longer wanted to manage actors. After spending years working tirelessly with Fu Zimo on film sets, I felt truly exhausted. Song Yuan agreed and told me the company had recently signed a singer named Lin Yu, a complete newcomer from a recent talent show. I silently cursed Song Yuan, thinking, managing a newcomer is considered a break. But since I took on the responsibility, I had to be accountable. I took Lin Yu around the company, introducing him to the staff. Unexpectedly, we ran into Fu Zimo. I was in the company's conference room, having a meeting with a few colleagues in charge of Lin Yu's future projects, when Fu Zimo suddenly pushed the door open. It wasn't until he shoved Lin Yu aside and sat down in a chair that I realized what was happening. I thought he would be on set right now. I specifically came to the office at this time to avoid him. Frankly, I didn't know how to face him now because we had never actually been together. And now I was no longer his manager. So, I didn't know what identity to assume in dealing with this situation. Since the awards ceremony, we hadn't seen each other, and I didn't expect our first meeting to be so abrupt. Fu Zimo was wearing a custom suit and sunglasses, looking the same as before. But as I looked at him, he felt like a stranger. The old Fu Zimo always wore a warm and shy smile. But at some point, the atmosphere between us had become consistently tense. Director Lee has picked up another treasure, I see. This one looks quite young. He should make you a lot of money. I frowned, really unsure where his temper was coming from. He was the one who announced his relationship without a heads up, the one who wanted a new manager, and now he was the one throwing a tantrum. My temper flared, and I threw my electronic pen onto the table. Whether he's young or not doesn't matter to me. After all, not every young person can make money. Instead of picking on a newcomer here, why not think about how to save Director Lin's film? Because of Fu Zimo's irresponsible announcement, public opinion about him was mixed. Plus, his drama with Lu Ling was currently airing, and fans from 3 different factions were tearing each other apart. The company had lined up a serious role for him, but now it was uncertain if he could even keep it. Fu Zimo laughed indifferently. That money doesn't matter to me. You seem to care more than I do. I was taken aback, not understanding why he had changed so much. The old Fu Zimo would seize any opportunity and work hard for it. Now, with more options, he seemed indifferent to everything. Looking at him, I spoke seriously. As your former manager, it appears I did value your career more than you did. But you don't seem to care. Fortunately, I'm no longer your manager. I don't have to worry every day about handling public opinion. So, Director Lee really does care about my career, Fu Zimo sneered. The awards ceremony was 3 days ago, and there have been over 10 trending topics. Now you care? Or is it that this plays right into Director Lee's hands, saving the company money on buying trending spots? The biting tone made me feel a sense of loss. Perhaps people do change. The Fu Zimo I knew at 23 wasn't like this. I used to take care of him in daily life, and he would often accommodate me at work. He never refused any opportunity when fought for, no matter how small. Now, standing in front of me, his tone was full of accusations. I once offered my heart to you, but you didn't even look at it. I worked hard to climb up, and only when I got more popular did you smile at me. When I fell from the wirework during filming, you couldn't even bother to visit me in the hospital. Sometimes I wonder if you just see me as a money-making tool. Why are you so cold-blooded, Li Gu? His voice grew more resentful, ignoring the presence of others. He had been on a career high these past years, with more endorsements and increasing demands on my time. I knew we had neglected communication, but I never thought he would see me this way. Why do I hear a dog barking? Who's the ungrateful one here? Making money. If it wasn't for Li Gu running around for you at the start, you, a nobody of a stunt double, wouldn't have had any opportunities. That time you fell, Li Gu was. Out of nowhere, Song Yuan stormed in and berated Fu Zimo. Seeing my colleagues in the corner with their gossiping spirits ignited, I quickly covered Song Yuan's mouth and pulled him away. I also shooed away the colleagues eavesdropping at the conference room door. What are you doing, Li Gu? Are you going to let him insult you like that? Don't tell me you're hopelessly in love with him. In the next room, Song Yuan was fuming, scolding me with a "why don't you see reason" look. I quickly poured him a glass of water to calm him down. Why are you so worked up? If I'm not angry as the person involved, why should you be? You're the boss, so watch your behavior. Song Yuan got even angrier. I'm the boss. Why should I care? All right, you're the boss. Did you hear the nonsense he spewed? That time he broke his leg, you were fighting for Director Su's movie for him, drinking yourself into a stomach ulcer and lying in the hospital, and he turns around and announces his relationship with some actress. You're just too stubborn. What's there to hide? Song Yuan directed another round of curses at the door. Then, suddenly, he deflated, sitting dejectedly on the sofa. It's also my fault for being an incompetent boss, making things so hard for you. I couldn't help but laugh at Song Yuan's split personality. It's fine, it's all in the past now. After that day, I focused on taking Lin Yu to various shows and hadn't seen Fu Zimo since. Half a month later, Fu Zimo's new drama wrapped up. The company organized a wrap party for him. I told Song Yuan I wasn't going. I couldn't drink anyway. That evening, as I was cooking noodles at home, I suddenly got a call from Xiaoju. Li Jie, come quickly. Fu Ge and Lin Yu are fighting. By the time I arrived, Lin Yu was already beaten up and couldn't stand. Seeing Fu Zimo sitting on the sofa with a bruised mouth and a group of colleagues hiding on the side, I was immediately furious. I quickly helped Lin Yu up. Are you okay, Lin Yu? Lin Yu silently shook his head. I looked at Fu Zimo. What's the meaning of this? Fu Zimo smirked. Nothing much. Just don't like him. So what? As Xingdong's top star, I can't teach a newcomer a lesson? I clenched my fists. The Fu Zimo in front of me was increasingly unrecognizable. Don't you also dislike me? Why don't you hit me to vent your anger then? I stared into his eyes, enunciating each word. Xingdong's top star. Fu Zimo's eyes darkened, and his wine glass smashed onto the table with a loud crack. He coldly said, Li Gu. Without looking back, I helped Lin Yu out. Stop. Fu Zimo's gritted teeth voice rang out. He hasn't had his drink yet, and you're leaving? You're protecting him that much? I didn't turn back, nor did I stop. He had forgotten how he was bullied as a newcomer too, how much unfair treatment he endured, and how many drinks he was forced to toast. I originally thought that after venting his anger, the matter would be over. Unexpectedly, it trended on social media the next day. Li Ye, you're trending. Xiaoju from the company's PR team called me early in the morning, her loud voice startling me awake. Instinctively, I checked the trending topics, expecting Fu Zimo to have caused some new trouble. But instead, it was about me. Someone had leaked the recording from that day in the meeting room, and now the internet was abuzz with rumors of me being Fu Zimo's sugar mommy. No wonder, I've never seen any interaction between Fu Zimo and Yangwan before. Turns out, it was all to spite the sugar mommy. Yangwan is really pitiful, being dragged into their play. The internet was exploding with criticisms. The recording was clear, likely from someone in the meeting room. There were fewer than 10 people there that day, including Fu Zimo. All company employees had signed confidentiality agreements. Could it have been Lin Yu? Thinking of this gave me a headache. Could Lin Yu have held a grudge and deliberately leaked the information? After much hesitation, I decided to visit Lin Yu. Lin Yu lived in a village in the city, far from the company. It took me a long time just to find the place. When I reached Lin Yu's door, I suddenly recalled Song Yuan saying that I didn't care about the other employees. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now it was clear I had indeed focused most of my energy on Fu Zimo. Even though Lin Yu was newly signed, I knew so little about his daily life. The thought of coming here to confront him made me lose my courage to knock. As I was still hesitating, the door suddenly opened. Lin Yu, carrying a backpack and seemingly ready to head to the company, looked surprised to see me. Then, with an expression that said, I knew you'd come, he invited me in. Lin Yu poured me a glass of water. Li Jie, you're here about the recording online, right? You suspect it was me who leaked it. Before I could speak, Lin Yu continued, do you think I would hold a grudge against Fu Zimo? He paused for 3 seconds, seeming to consider where to start. Last night, he asked me what you did with me every day. He wanted every detail. When I told him about the day we recorded the show and you brought me porridge, he asked which store it was from. I said I didn't know, just that it had a green package. Then he suddenly got angry. Green packaging? I paused for a moment, then realized it was from the breakfast place near Fu Zimo's home. For years, I had only brought breakfast for Fu Zimo. Whenever I picked him up for events, I would buy it and wait for him. That day, maybe I was passing by and went in on a whim. Actually, I have an idea about what's going on between you two. He stood up and handed me a photo album filled with pictures of him and a girl. This is my ex-girlfriend. She supported me through competitions and everywhere. Now that I've finally signed a contract, she told me she's going back home. I was frustrated and asked why she was giving up now. She said she was tired. She said that over the years, it seemed like we were moving forward together, but in reality, it was always me looking ahead and her struggling to keep up. I used to think that family, love, friendship, and dreams each had their own priority order, which varies for everyone. Maybe right now, I believe my dreams are more important, and you believe his future is more important. The only difference is that I made the choice for myself, and you made the choice for him. Lin Yu's voice was calm, as if he had completely accepted this outcome. I flipped through the photo album, noticing that in every picture, the girl looked at him while the boy's eyes were always filled with light looking into the distance. Leaving Lin Yu's place, I called Fu Zimo. It took a long time before he answered. His voice was hoarse, with a hint of drunkenness. "Li Gu, you've gotten dumber. Just now thinking to call me." Hearing his voice, my eyes suddenly stung. In that instant, I felt we had lost each other forever. I choked back my sobs and softly asked him where he was. On the other end, Fu Zimo suddenly laughed. "Little Li, it's been so long since you talked to me like this." He coughed, then began mimicking my voice. "Fu Zimo, stop being stubborn. This drama is S+. Fu Zimo, what's wrong with you? It's just a CP hype. Stop making trouble." "Fu Zimo, you can celebrate your birthday anytime. Today's event has several big directors." "Fu Zimo, why are you eating noodles? Cut down on carbs. Your fans are starting to complain about me." "Fu Zimo." A breeze blew, and I realized my face was wet with tears. After a long silence, his voice came through again. The recording was leaked by me. Yangwan was dragged into this by me to act. "I've messed everything up again. I'm sorry, I've let you down." The situation with the recording is still unresolved, and Lu Ling has intervened again. She posted an article titled, "Sorry, I'm not interested in the story of 3 people" on her Weibo. Not only did she accuse the company of forcing her and Fu Zimo to create a CP, couple pairing, scandal, but she also indirectly criticized me, Fu Zimo, and Yangwan, accusing the 3 of us of being entangled. Fu Zimo's fanbase demanded an explanation from the company, blaming me for hiding and profiting from the situation for years, as well as secretly colluding with Fu Zimo, and requested the company to terminate my contract. My residence was exposed, and my car windows were smashed. The company issued a clarification overnight, stating that I am no longer Fu Zimo's agent. However, the fans were not convinced. I watched the online turmoil intensify relentlessly, feeling like I was in an ice-cold abyss. Ironically, I was the one most afraid of affecting him, yet I ended up causing harm to him. I was about to call Song Yuan to resign when I saw Fu Zimo live streaming from home. He recounted our story from beginning to end. He talked about our mutual support over the past decade, our missed opportunities, and even clarified the awards ceremony incident. Finally, he apologized to Yangwan, the fans, and to me. As I watched Fu Zimo narrate our story calmly on the screen, I strangely felt calm inside. The melodrama of these past few days finally came to an end. Lu Ling's fans continued to clamor for justice for their sister. I hailed a cab to Lu Ling's company and called her agent to discuss how to resolve this. Regardless, the 2 actors' drama is still airing, and making a spectacle would be detrimental to everyone. Initially, I didn't agree with the CP hype. Given Fu Zimo's abilities, such tactics weren't necessary. However, Lu Ling's style is well known in the entertainment industry. I had to include this clause in the contract and strictly control the materials for the CP. Now, she denies it, claiming we forced her. Her agent, a shrewd character, pulled out a recorded contract upon our meeting. I glanced at her agent, who casually raised his hand. She had wanted to terminate the contract with the company long ago, so I naturally kept this as leverage. Now, look, it's come in handy. Finally, her agency released the recording, proving that Lu Ling intentionally caused this incident to terminate her contract with the company. Lu Ling wanted to ride the wave of public opinion to gain advantage over Fu Zimo, but now the same righteous netizens have turned against her. Things finally settled down, and Song Yuan suggested I go out and relax. This time, I didn't refuse. After finishing the handover, I bought a plane ticket and flew to Yunnan, booking a room by the sea where I slept for several days. After so many years, if I can't sleep, I go to the seaside. With large French windows, the sea moved with the wind, naturally helping me sleep, and I slept for 3 whole days. When I woke up, I would eat something. On the 3rd day, I finally wanted to go out. But downstairs, I saw a familiar figure struggling with a suitcase stuck in a crack in the rocks. I tentatively called out, "Song Yuan." The figure stiffened for a moment, reluctantly put down the suitcase, turned around with a smirk. "What a coincidence. Are you staying here too?" My face was full of disbelief. "Do you really expect me to believe that?" I looked at him warily. "You're not here to make me work overtime, are you?" "Song Yuan, am I the kind of capitalist who exploits employees?" Half an hour later, my vacation was ruined. Sitting in the passenger seat of Song Yuan's car, I spoke resentfully. "Didn't we agree on paid leave?" Song Yuan, who was driving, smirked again. "I just didn't want you to feel lonely. I bought a new sports car, taking you out for a spin." I didn't know how to respond to that, damn capitalist. Seeing me silent for a while, Song Yuan thought I was angry. Indignant, he said, "Breaking up isn't the end of the world. When we get back, I'll cancel 2 endorsements for you to vent your anger." I was taken aback. Breaking up? I actually wish it were a breakup. We were never together. "What did you say?" The wind was too loud and Song Yuan yelled at me. I yelled back, "I said we were never together." That actually felt relieving. Song Yuan suddenly slammed on the brakes, looking at me in disbelief. "Then all these years, pouring your heart and soul into him, how could you just treat him like anyone else in the company?" Over the years, everyone around us thought we were together. After all, everyone knew about his proposal to buy a house. I rejected him back then. Song Yuan was bewildered. Why? Wasn't he an orphan? No one would have blackmailed you with 5 million. Song Yuan's irrelevant remarks made me laugh. There wasn't any special reason. At the time, I just felt that his journey wasn't easy, and I couldn't hold him back for this. At least I couldn't be the one holding him back. Song Yuan became excited. "You've been with him for so many years. How could you say you held him back?" I took a deep breath. Back then, his career had just started, and he had so many fans supporting him. At that time, it was impossible for me to agree to him. Do you know how hard he worked for those first few years? He was still hanging off a scaffold on Chinese New Year's Eve. People can't be too greedy, right? How could you expect him to be both? Song Yuan sighed. "You're just too clear-headed. Is there anyone clean in this industry? Those people are all thanking their fans on the surface and doing anything behind their backs, and only you are sincere." I frowned, somewhat disagreeing. I can't control how others behave, but I don't want Fu Zimo to be like that. He must be responsible for himself, the company, and his fans. Song Yuan lost his temper completely. Okay, I'm not as committed to the company as you are." Then he muttered softly, "If only I hadn't pretended." After a pause, he asked me, "What about you?" I was nervous when he looked at me. "Don't look at me like that, like I'm the Virgin Mary. I'm not trying to impress anyone. I'm just afraid of being responsible for his life and afraid that he'll regret it." The first time I met Fu Zimo was in Hengdian. Back then, I had just graduated and joined the company, tasked with escorting newly signed actors around for auditions. Hengdian in July felt like a giant steamer, and the actor I was with almost suffered heat stroke. As I rushed to buy water for the actor, I passed by a film crew and heard the director angrily shouting, "Didn't I tell you last time? Do you understand weight loss? With such a different physique, how can we shoot the male lead? Who do you think you are, the male lead? What use is your height and muscles? Does anyone want to see you like this?" The somewhat chubby director was uncontrollably furious, pointing aggressively at a young man, spitting as he berated him. He couldn't help poking the young man's shoulder hard as he shouted. In nearly 40 degrees Celsius weather, the young man wore heavy ancient costume, his plain expression showing no emotion, just wiping away the sweat beads forming on his nose. "If you can't lose more weight, get the hell out of here." Hengdian doesn't need someone like you who can't even fight." With that, he threw the script in his hand at the young man's face and stormed off, muttering under his breath. Actually, scenes like this happened countless times every day in Hengdian, but for some reason, that day I couldn't resist stopping. Later, I often wondered if I hadn't taken that route that day, or if I hadn't stopped, would I never have met Fu Zimo, and none of what followed would have happened. But fate seemed to be set in stone, one link connecting to another. No matter how it turned, I was destined to meet him. I originally intended to take a detour, but the next moment, he bent down to pick up the script and collapsed directly on the ground. It was noon, and the crew had all gone to eat, with no one around. I couldn't just stand there and watch him suffer in the sun. So I dragged him to a nearby pavilion and fed him some Huixiang Jingqi water, coaxing him with a pout. I had just thought he was tall with broad shoulders and a narrow waist, a good figure. Now, seeing his face up close, he was quite handsome with his sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. I also wiped his face with the newly bought water, and perhaps because of his good physique, he woke up in just over 10 minutes. Looking at the medicine bottle on the ground, he embarrassedly spoke up. "Thank you. I've been hanging on the scaffold for too long today." Then he hurriedly looked for his phone to transfer money to me. The young man's slightly dark skin had a subtle blush that was hard to notice, and I was momentarily stunned. But the actor I was with was still waiting for me, so I had to leave in a hurry. A week later, I saw him again. Everyone had finished work, but he was still practicing. He seemed to have a professional background. His moves were smooth and impressive. As the crew passed by, they patted his shoulder. "Xiao Fu, don't skip meals again." He smiled and said he had already eaten, then continued repeating those few moves. After that, I would occasionally think of Fu Zimo, but Hengdian was so big that it wasn't surprising not to see him again for months. I never expected to see him again at the company. Actually, that day I was planning to resign. I had just started in the industry with few connections, hoping to steadily build my career. However, the actor I was with was eager to seize opportunities, leading to significant disagreements that made me question my profession. The late summer sun still felt intense, almost blinding. Fu Zimo was standing at the company's entrance in a simple white t-shirt. I was somewhat surprised and greeted him. When Fu Zimo heard my voice and turned around to see me, he seemed pleasantly surprised. "You work at this company?" "Yeah." Unable to resist, I muttered under my breath again, but probably not for much longer. "What?" Fu Zimo didn't catch that. I waved it off and asked if he was here for an interview. He said someone claiming to be the company's director had given him a business card and asked him to come for an interview. After getting confirmation, I was somewhat surprised. Logically, Fu Zimo's slightly rugged appearance didn't quite fit our company's requirements. After all, the current market preferred young, cute actors, and our projects were mostly youth idol dramas. Originally, I wanted to suggest he try another company. The person claiming to be a director was likely just a talent scout for the company, so coming here was just a gamble. If he became popular, the company would profit. If not, there was no loss. But when I looked at him, I suddenly had a change of heart. He had been a stunt performer in Hengdian, so this might be a good opportunity for him. Instead of suggesting he go elsewhere, I pointed him in the right direction and quietly shelved my resignation plans. I wanted to see if this young man could succeed. Later, not long after, the actor I was with told the company he wanted to change me. I readily agreed, asking to handle new recruits. So I smoothly became Fu Zimo's executive broker, as no one wanted to handle newcomers without much appreciation. At that time, Fu Zimo could only be seen in the company's homemade plays and hadn't even had his makeup done yet. I self-studied photography and editing, pleading with the makeup artist to make him up earlier to secretly take pictures before filming started. We ran through the crew in Hengdian, upside down for 2 months, and even delayed Aunt Meng. But almost all the important roles were internal, and we didn't even have a chance to interview. We had a tough time then. I was very defeated, and I didn't think I was in this business. Or forget it. In front of the 24-hour convenience store, eating instant noodles in my hand, I complained. It's also a waste of your time to follow me, this useless broker. At that time, he looked at me with a serious tone. You don't know how grateful I am to you. I was stunned. He continued, if you hadn't met me that day, maybe no one would have found me by the afternoon. I might not have appeared here. And now you're amazing. You know everything. I'm sorry to trouble you. He said with a bit of regret, and then asked me carefully, can you stick to it? Actually, I was very tired. This line is not who worked harder. Talent and luck. One less is not enough. But he looked so firmly at me. I don't know if it was the moonlight or the street lamp on Fuzimo. He seemed to have light on him. I looked at his eyes, and my heart began to jump uncontrollably. I heard myself say, okay. So, we persisted for another 6 months, and finally, our breakthrough came. Renowned director Qin from Hong Kong came to mainland China to shoot a movie. He wanted to cast some new faces. Perhaps even heaven couldn't bear to see hardworking people without rewards. Qin was invited by the boss to visit the company and held a welcome ceremony for the actors. It was called a welcome ceremony, but it was actually just to showcase the company's artists to him. Maybe feeling bored, Qin sneaked out to use the restroom and stopped me as I passed by. Hey, young lady, where's the restroom? I was a bit nervous. The restroom on the first floor is broken. Let me take you to the second floor. As soon as we entered the second floor, we saw Fuzimo in the practice room. By then, Fuzimo hadn't received any casting calls for 2 months, but he still came to the company every day to practice. Qin saw him and gave me a meaningful look, asking, your company still has such good talents. I glanced at Fuzimo in the practice room, bit my lip, and quickly took out Fuzimo's profile from my bag, then bowed deeply. Sorry, director. I intentionally brought you to the second floor. Fuzimo is indeed an excellent action actor. Qin paused for a moment, took the profile, glanced at Fuzimo again, and said, tell him to come see me tomorrow. I knew my actions wouldn't stay hidden from others in the company or from Qin, but I had to try. After all, Fuzimo trusted me so much. As we hoped, there aren't many serious guys left in the mainland. So, Qin quickly appointed Fuzimo as the male lead of the new film. After the audition, Fuzimo couldn't hide his happiness. I waited for him at the door. He ran over, excitedly telling me that Qin had him perform a scene on the spot and really appreciated him. Seeing him so happy made me happy too. I knew he had been practicing martial arts for over a decade, and he most wanted recognition from a professional. That day, we broke tradition and had a meal. KFC. Fuzimo's selection news spread quickly throughout the entire company. As his agent, instead of riding high on his success, I found myself continuously suppressed by others in the company. But I had anticipated all of this. Resources are limited, and they will inevitably step on someone else's toes. When Fuzimo was just a nobody, so was I. Officially his executive agent, but in reality, little different from an assistant. Now that he's caught the eye of Director Qin, the company swiftly replaced me with a more competent agent for him. Fuzimo protested, but neither of us had any say in the matter. He came over to apologize to me. Li Gu, you fought for this opportunity for me, but now. I reassured him that as long as he succeeds, it's a win for us. Afterward, I remained a nobody in the company, but now I became the cunning nobody in their eyes. From Fuzimo's assistant, I became everyone's assistant, working overtime until midnight every day. With the film about to start shooting, they were sure I wouldn't raise any objections during this sensitive period. Another early morning, my head heavy with fatigue. Just as I reached the door, I saw a figure sitting on the steps, startling me. The person slowly lifted their head. It was Fuzimo. Why are you here? Aren't you supposed to be at training? I asked him. I looked at him, feeling a sense of foreboding. Sure enough, the next moment, Fuzimo said hoarsely, I've been replaced. Director Qin doesn't understand the mainland situation. He thinks whoever performs well should be used. But in reality, money talks. Such situations are common. Neither of us said another word. Losing this opportunity, the company definitely won't give him any more resources. I cooked him a bowl of noodles. He quietly finished it. After a while, he suddenly put down his chopsticks. "Ligu, get me onto variety shows," he said. So I desperately looked for opportunities. From that day on, Fu Zimo began running variety shows day and night. He took on every variety show, often traveling between several cities, enduring endless jokes, being ridiculed, treated like a lackey. He experienced everything. Sometimes I couldn't bear to watch him, but he still smiled, patting my shoulder, saying, "What does it matter? So many envy my agent, who fought for so many opportunities for me." His words brought tears to my eyes. I really wanted to tell him, "Dude, you have a strong grip." Days passed like this. Fortunately, his rare tough image in the entertainment circle slowly accumulated some fans. Later, he gradually went from being a nobody sitting in the corner to having scripted roles in variety shows. That's how the circle works. Once you have a name, everything becomes easier. Scripts started coming in slowly, and Fu Zimo accepted them all, whether as a lead or supporting role. Of course, the company wouldn't allow him to refuse. They were eager for any money-making opportunities. In a year and a half, he filmed 4 web dramas, spending the whole year nonstop on set. Although due to his contract with the company, his earnings weren't much. But gradually, our lives improved, and we moved out of that old tenement building where the water and electricity often failed and the walls peeled. Yet it seemed we were always just short of luck. Internal strife began in the company. 2 or 3 top artists were taken away by a major shareholder. The boss ran off with the money, and the company was on the brink of collapse. So all the agreed-upon projects fell through. At this time, Song Yuan appeared. One day, as I was packing up things at the company, I suddenly heard someone outside the door exclaim, "Hey, where is everyone from this company?" Then Song Yuan strode in, sporting a big gold chain, a hefty gold watch, and followed by 4 burly bodyguards dressed in black. I jumped in fright, thinking they were debt collectors, and hid under the desk without making a sound. Song Yuan took off his sunglasses, looking incredulous. Am I being fooled again? Just as I was preparing to sneak out through the back door quietly, Song Yuan called out to me, "Hey, why are you running? I'm not from the underworld." Later, I found out that Song Yuan was a second-generation wealthy kid. He was eager to prove himself in business, but had been deceived numerous times. This time was no different. He had been tricked into taking over this company. After I briefed him roughly on the company's situation, Song Yuan fell silent for 3 minutes, then burst into laughter. Once again, I was taken aback. He slapped my shoulder excitedly and looked at me. "This is so cool. A bankrupt company, a destitute girl, and here I am, descending from the heavens. I am the chosen one. I will succeed, and I will no longer be just a second-generation wealthy kid. I will become a first-generation wealthy. From now on, you're with me. I'm your backbone." I couldn't help but twitch at the corners of my mouth. Perhaps foolish people do have their moments of luck. After Song Yuan took over the company, only 3 of us remained, and unexpectedly, we began to see a turnaround. Director Chen had been holding a grudge since the incident where roles were switched last time. A year and a half later, he started planning a new film. The first person he thought of was Fu Zimo. And as it turned out, Director Chen's instincts were right. Fu Zimo's star rose, and we became busy once more. Though exhausting, life improved significantly. Song Yuan would cheerfully give me a raise one moment and then call his dad to boast the next. After the company started to improve, we signed on some new people, and I began to struggle to keep up. Song Yuan suggested changing his agent, but he refused. "I don't want anyone but Li Gu." Song Yuan was so angry that his teeth creaked. Slowly, Fu Zimo saved some money. One night, I went to pick him up after work. He mysteriously had the driver leave early and blindfolded me, saying, "I'm taking you somewhere." Over the years, we've been so busy that we rarely sit down to eat. In this rare moment of tenderness, I put down my work phone and let him lead me. "You're not planning to sell me off because you think I've been squeezing you too hard lately, are you?" I teased. Fu Zimo lightly tapped my forehead and said with a smile, "If I sold you, who would cook noodles for me? I laughed along. After all these years, you're still not tired of eating them. Fu Zimo led me without saying a word, stopping in a closed space. The next moment, Fu Zimo removed the blindfold. It was a house he had bought. Fu Zimo held my hand and opened the door to go inside. In his usual steady voice, tinged with a hint of emotion, he said, "Li Gu, although this house is quite small, could you continue cooking noodles for me in the future?" Still overwhelmed by the surprise, I hadn't fully recovered when Fu Zimo looked somewhat apprehensive. "Li Gu." I looked into his expectant eyes, feeling like crying. Finally, this city had a place of its own. You finally had a hard time. But I still congratulated him with a smile. Fu Zimo smiled too. We've come through it all together. And it's only going to get better in the future. So, Li Guyu, tomorrow at 6, I have to go to work. Let's go back. I interrupted him as he tried to take something out of his hand. He stood still for a moment, then pulled my sleeve nervously and explained, "This house is a little small and a little out of the way, but I'll definitely buy a bigger one in the future. I haven't even had time to prepare the flowers. I'm sorry. Li Gu, you're waiting for me." My heart felt like it was full of water, and I didn't want to hear it again. "Let's go back." He dropped his hand. Now he has some fame and his own fans. I know how hard it's been for him to come this far, and he's sure to move on to bigger stages in the future. He was right when he said we'd come through it all together. I don't want anything to get in his way, especially a person like me. We're both smart enough, and Fu Zimo understands the words I haven't said. That night, no one was talking in the car, and that's when we started to get more and more silent between us. On the morning I was about to leave, Fu Zimo arranged to meet me at our usual breakfast spot. When I arrived, Fu Zimo had already placed our order. He wasn't wearing a hat or a mask, just a simple t-shirt, and he greeted me with a big smile. "You're here. Their porridge has new flavors now. I ordered you the purple sweet potato one. Have a taste." As he spoke, he handed me a spoon. "Did they add sugar?" After taking a sip, I looked up and asked him. He grinned mischievously and pulled out a jar of honey onto the table. "Here, I know you don't like white sugar." I smiled too. "Your memory is quite something." He kept stirring his porridge with the spoon in his hand. "I heard you're leaving. Can I ask you something?" "I know what you're going to ask." Fu Zimo's hand paused and he smiled wryly. "You always understand me so well, but I don't seem to understand you. I've always been chasing after you with all my might, but I can never catch up. I thought I was different in your heart, but you still easily let me go." He looked up at me, pain suppressed in his eyes. "In the past, you were always there for me. No matter when I turned around, you were there. Even during those toughest years, we made it through, but now we don't even have a chance to have a proper conversation. At the awards ceremony, those words were meant for you too. Even if you had questioned me, I would have been glad, but you seemed indifferent to me. If you didn't care about me so much, why did you choose me in the first place? What do all those experiences we had together mean?" A bitter taste welled up in my heart. Misunderstandings left unexplained, words left unsaid, endless notices and never-ending meetings. With the passage of time, we drifted apart little by little. We were so open with each other at first, always looking out for one another. How did it come to this? There were many people coming and going around us, but no one knew him. It was only in this environment that Fu Zimo could open up and speak freely. After hesitating for a moment, thinking that there might not be many chances like this in the future, I decided to speak my mind. "Actually, there wasn't anything special behind my rejection of your proposal back then, nor was it a sacrifice born out of self-pity. I was young and felt like there was plenty of time ahead. Many things could wait to be said later. Now looking back, it was just me being presumptuous, making what I thought were good decisions for you. I never expected it would turn out like this. I feel like I owe you an apology." I looked at him earnestly and said, "Fu Zimo, to me, you are like a star. Some people love stars and want to pluck them from the sky. But I love stars in a way that I want them to shine brighter and brighter. Seeing them glitter makes my life brighter too. Do you understand?" Fu Zimo tightened his grip on the spoon, his eyes slightly reddened as he nodded. I didn't hear Fu Zimo's choked-up muttering after I left. But I don't want to be your star. I just want to stand by your side. The weather in Yunnan was so nice that I lost track of time. After our conversation by the seaside that day, Song Yuan left the next day. He left me a note. It seems I won't have the chance. I'm going back to make that brat work hard and earn me a new sports car. Also, I'm planning to give you a 3-month paid vacation. According to Baidu, in 3 months, a person's cells completely regenerate. Give me a chance to pick you up at the airport then. Be happy. Moved as I was, faced with this sudden holiday, I felt more lost than anything. Suddenly having time on my hands made me unsure of what to do. But who cares? Who cares who will pick me up in 3 months? Yesterday flows like the eastward river, gone far from me and cannot be kept. For now, I'll just enjoy my vacation to the fullest.